we ought to let prison population, jail population consume, eat, smoke, marijuana, herb. You know, if it's going to be as legal as potatoes and meat that they serving them, then why not let them, you know? Then it also needs to be legal for them to smoke. I was up in there, and brothers got to go to the back of the room where the vent is at, and they smoke, and then they blow into the vent so it goes through the system. And it's all type of stupid shit that people got to do just to, you know, just to live. You feel me? Don't make no sense. But, you know, in the interest of naivety, growing and maturing, I don't know, I was thinking about my ideas, man. I'm just like, yo, I see it. It can work. Boom, eyes is wide open, and then I think about what might compete with those ideas, you know. Remember, my grandfather was in his last day of life. He had said to me, "You got a lot of good ideas, but everybody got their own ideas." So with that, you know, part of the strategy is to develop product. But, you know, some people is involved in businesses like Amway, Herbalife, Melaleuca, WFG. So they have so much of a stake in that, but they, you know, there's a bigger game that has to be played. I see. King. Yeah. There's also these, you know, there's a sinister entity. Hopefully it's not as sinister as it used to be, but I don't know. Maybe it's so convoluted it's fat and slow, hopefully. But when I think back to the political prisoners, people who they weren't doing nothing. They was trying to be progressive and optimistic, and they saw, you know, what needed to be done. I'm watching this movie. I just got it too. It's called Inherent Vice, and there's these different scenes in there where the FBI is asking about the Black Panther, these black nationalists. And I mean, it's such a manipulative thing when they talk about, you know, I'm like, they're talking about my uncles right now. My uncles is cool. Why? You know, and they wearing suit and tie, and almost to make themselves seem like they're positioning themselves like in marketing, right? You have Coke and you got Pepsi, or let's just use this analogy. You got Root Beer and Sprite, you know, and each has its own, is trying to position the other when they're competing, you know. They're trying to, oh, the black nationalists, but they're no more militant, certainly not more deranged militant than the Sprite, you know what I'm saying? Because Sprite already got a bunch of weapons. Sprite is already being very proactive in trying to position the root beer as, you know, something that's bad for you or a threat, when really, you know, neither one of them is good for your health, right? They don't optimize health. So that's the kind of the problem I have. It's like, damn, to cut a tree down, it's easier. It's best to go with the grain because you can cut it down quicker, you know. Or you get some nice good slices in there. Some people may object to that. Seems like you can definitely slice it a lot easier. But then if we got to become like this man and play this particular game the way he plays it, have an intelligence bureau and do all this shit, it's like we're becoming an unhealthy beverage. You know what I'm saying? So how do you do that and not pervert yourself in the process? You know what I mean? You know, it's like vendettas. It's like gang wars, you know what I'm saying? Oh, this gang against that gang, and they're going to retaliate now, and they're going to retaliate, and they're going to retaliate. This is exactly what the sprite of this government seems to want to do. It's like, man, we're just going to... But I just think about the political prisoners that, did all kind of time, died in prison, and framed, you know what I mean? Positioned. Like, how did they even... What did they even say to get them in jail? Like, how did they do that? Like, what was the argument? You know what I mean? Something they fabricated, I'm sure. But not even something that I'm going to spend any time thinking about. I suggest you don't either. As a matter of fact, I'm just thinking about how beautiful this whole space is getting cleaned up. So, there's new pretty flowers growing in Washington, uprooting the old ones. It's beautiful. I don't even know, how did that even happen? I mean, we've never seen this before. It's the same flowers were growing year after year. And something, I don't know, it must have been the gardeners. They must have planted some seeds. Like, they must have been like, you know what, they were planting a destroyer seed. That's what they were doing. They planted a destroyer seed. It was like a timed release. So it did its work. It literally like pollinated the current flowers, impregnated them with a disease that allowed them to live for one more season while the inherent virus was being taken up into the flower, such that it would pollinate all the other flowers and seeds. And then next year or two, it died, and the other flower was already triggered because it was part of the program. So it literally uprooted. Just programs in the matrix, you know what I mean? Programs. Programs inside of programs. And yeah, I mean, it shook the foundation of the White House. And a whole new generation, a genius generation was born. New motives, new aims. Wasn't about cops and robbers. It was cop, good cop, pitted against bad cop. And that gave the people time to make and create a good world. Was humanity ready to jump? Did they reach critical mass to tip, the tipping point? Was there enough businesses that was behind and with the agenda? Enough businesses that were correcting their status while the people too were correcting their status? Or did they have too much of their livelihood tied up with the government, beholden to the government, subject to the government, and therefore could not be mercantile in the traditional sense and simply do business, simply trade? They have regulations, too many to have any real control over the ecosystem. These destroyer seeds were planted in all of the divisions, the most important divisions. They were good seeds, but they had a job to do. Because they knew the work was being done. at the grassroots, in the streets. Every retailer, the black market was reborn with an unbreakable aesthetic that could never be pierced. Like the corporate veil, could not be pierced by the old bad seed, the mafia, la familia. All problems are problems of imagination. All solutions are solutions of imagination. Can we imagine a protectorate, an intelligence that will keep our good men alive, those among us with voice, casting, those who merely come to speak for the masses, not as their leader, but merely as their president. As the godfather of the village. Gigabyte Life, the village. We're looking for godfathers. Are we looking for you? Each village ordered like lot numbers on a plat map. Flown across territories, taken in through a back door, laid out on the table. Everybody has their instructions. We know what the architecture is, what the plan is. We're just looking for godfathers. Many godfathers whom you can never kill. Give your speed. Godfathers who give life. They only give life. Their death is life. They are a destroyer seed, a caterpillar, appearing specially.